Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. My name is Mark here. My really Mark, my name is here, so let's combine the two. That's my alias handle. Come from Battle, one of the founding team members, feel both on the BD partnership side as well as DevRel side, run a HackerVows program called Soldier House. They have barbecues tonight, by the way, so you go to blue.com/Soldier House. It is always the live. Yeah, I've been in the space since 2017. Used to be a very shitty developer, and now yeah, that mostly just operates otherwise. And yeah, here you do the less corrupt takes and challenge what these how was probably what you can see built.
She just thinks that of type E. Shrug. Yeah, cool. Ash for the Zion platform, but we're doing a UX forward L1, basically to make the concept of chain while the gas fees invisible to non-technical users.
Okay, my name is John. Sorry, I got my sunglasses on. Just a crazy food allergy. Start of week. Feet, I look by feet for the person. Yeah, I was maybe one of the first consensus employees. Sort of round two for very high around Bishop. Now I'm unloaded, but the whole line of the day. Very nice to be here. Thank you. Ziflio.
Sup, go like, sup.
It's not orgy. Very much fun here. You get doing. Yeah, cool.
Hey, yeah, be good here. Yeah. Hey, yeah. Hello guys, Francesco. I'm part of the developer relation team at Consensus. I don't know if you guys hear me, but yeah, I'm excited about speaking about developer relation, developer activation, and obviously some really exciting me about the these are all developed today is obviously this idea. There's no idea fate, and yeah, also be based about the question and a lot of spicy takes. Cool.
I'm Nico Lewis, CEO of Yale Technologies. I cover most engineering background, also I do coding. So, happy to be here, discuss interesting one.
Hey everyone, my name is Leia, and I'm a CTO and co-founder of Pagaib, the first real-time blockchain. Also the period there too. Before that, I was a PhD student at MIT born on distributed systems.
Awesome. Thanks so much for the introduction. Most of our audience here are super familiar with the EVM versus non-EVM debate, but can you please explain some of the main trade-offs from your point of view between the two when it comes to performance, scalability, and so forth? We'll start with Leon.
So I would say EVM may not be designed. I think the main trade-offs of EVM class is not really designed for maximizing performance. I think it's designed for maximizing programmability and maximizing probably security. So I make one concrete example. When you write an EVM transaction, you are not really required to the set of data that is touching, and is in some cases it's called to first system performance because before you actually run the transaction, you actually don't know what the transaction will do. It's kind of a theory of computer science, which that you do not know the functionality of a piece of program before you actually run it. So in implementation, it can result in various performance issues. For example, databases cannot be properly cached, catalog or renewals cannot properly figure out the parallelism within the transactions. But to kind of summarize it, basically, the trade-off here is that you're gaining loss of security or gaining loss of programmability, but promptly you are using a system that's only not really designed in first principle for performance.
I mean, EVM software is kind of legacy software at this point because even people who designed it, like I'm talking about K and Vitalik, they got cited multiple times that they could have do a better reformation and all these things, and but it just all happened that all software is already on this platform. So the main trade-off is, I guess, if you want it, the native that you get is hyper compatibility, but literally very little. So I mean, even like in terms of security, there are kind of multiple languages that now performs EVM on many levels. Especially EVM has also this, for example, it's a nightmare in cost organization because we have like this OVN languages with OVN backend which can be optimized very super easily, while EVM contains like random jumps, for example, everywhere. Okay. All the stuff is just nightmare for organization, and it's come like 100 times slower than a performant machine. So the main trade-off, is
Just about compatibility. So it's you want a spicy take?
Okay, well, it canceled me a billion times at Ethereum over the years, so I don't really don't care. But first of all, I love Ethereum. I was there in the beginning. The design decision around the EVM was pretty much no resources and no ability at the time, within the time constraints where Ethereum was facing, to build a full robust system. And I agree, it's a bit of it's legacy software that's just sort of got mass adoption. I think the more salient point for Ethereum broadly at this stage is really more on the protocol side. So we kind of ostensibly, to a large extent, in the name of saving the planet, switched from proof of work to proof of stake. Meanwhile, we fly all over the world all the time. We send people. Poor Ethereum people live on jumbo jets. So there's a bit of and then at the same time, Bitcoin, I think, has definitely proven out, particularly in the United States, that in fact a lot of the game theory around clean sources of power and our green bonds are coming in, unlocking tremendous amounts of capital for verifiable, clean power going into Bitcoin. So that argument, I think, is like fallen by the wayside. I think we have this like green hypothecation risk. I call it the shitbox stack. Okay, there's a bunch of stuff jammed in there that is just waiting to be exploited. And then, moreover, I've been recently, my autism kicked in about 5 months ago. I started going deep into the quantum stuff. I think quantum risk starts to present itself much, much more seriously. My spicy take is I think 2027. I did a few reviews around that. I'd be happy to share some of the work I've been doing. There's some great people moving in this direction, and that entire ecosystem is absolutely booming. So, in terms of harming the entire ecosystem, I know Justin just put out a roadmap calling for 2029, 2030 or something like that, which I think is even too late. And the reality is, and then also when you look at the ZK stuff right now, Ethereum is a very poor ZK execution environment. Okay, we want to create kind of a bit of a Frankenstein stack. So obviously the shared components, let's say, as a means of kind of like delivering some outcome. But really we're also at the same time going back to ASICs. So ZK proving on ASICs. I think there's going to be an FPGA interrupt step, but we're going to come back to ASICs in any case. So my take is I think we should be looking more at POPO level, potentially from a BAT to proof of work, and some maybe useful from the work context, potentially useful from the work proof of stake hybrid consensus UL with the ZK proving ASICs. No starts, okay? Nothing but as discrete log. All of that can be factored. We have to get back to starts and airsheet, real core principles to harden the system. And I think that's going to be the competitive advantage of the EVM, because right now it's having a hard time competing with, like Solana, pretty much many others that are servicing users probably in a much more efficient and better way.
Isn't Solana's panel supposed to be like pro EVM at this point? It's not going to be me, but yeah, my taste will be the same. It's legacy software that has mass adoption and is basically at this point going to be designed by committee for any future upgrades. So,
I want to answer the question. I'm dealing every day with developers, right? I just must say that whatever we're choosing, whatever we are building towards, so we should not kind of like build different kind of like developer ecosystem islands. At the end, we need to more developers that are building application layer, consumer-facing apps in collaboration with different kind of functions. I think like EVM is giving a reason to stay and build on a much more collaborative way. I think there are too many islands where developers are actually like fragmented around tech stack. I definitely like don't like that because I see a lot of web people trying things, coming back to different ecosystem. That's why I also don't think it's just a technology game. It's also like a system building game where we can we build like like system that are accessible and authentic. But obviously, like I don't know, I definitely want to ask everybody what you guys think of big J up to the buddy Keylemic and Big Beer.
I actually think John was not as spicy as something. Again, like a lot of people actually agree with you on the proof of work side. Is something that I will also consider. I think if you look at the MEV side of things, we have two block builders that are operating an entire chain where it's just Beaver and Titan. And yeah, folks who are very into NAD would maybe agree with John at this point. But there's some consideration of go back to proof of work, and I think that's actually not so spicy anymore. But yeah, I think something from an ecosystem builder, something that's worth considering is I talked to thousands of builders, thousands of developers, thousands of people in the ecosystem, and so far, our chain stack, which is a fairly vanilla L2 with an alt DA, I don't see many bottlenecks so far. There's been only one project that's come to us saying that the current situation is not enough for us. So I think the bottleneck right now is good products, good founders, good developers building real shit that actually matters and solves real problems. Maybe in the future we'll have to migrate to something else, something other than the current, the EVM dominated world. But for now, I don't see that issue from the ecosystem side. I think we're solving problems in the future, but the problem doesn't necessarily exist in a dramatic scale of the way that it's presented this panel right now.
What's your take on Bitray?
Well, first of all, I want to be very clear. I admire all the researchers. I mean, I think these are like my heroes. These are people that are doing core work, and I guess a full credit. I would say with respect to Beam Chain, if I would look back in terms of the history of Ethereum, I would draw a lot of parallels. For example, when we launched Ethereum, on the front page of our website, we had the world's computer, okay? Which I don't think was, Azure and AWS built the world's computer. We built a global USB fiat client or something. And then we talked about 1024 shards, very, very hard. And then, maybe 64, maybe 32 finally shard. Again, very hard problems, very vicious. I think we need to, so with Beam, there's a lot of interesting stuff there, for sure. My biggest concern, however, is, as you guys know, the more complexity you add to the system, the more, the sort of larger the attack surface, the greater potential for it to it overall. That's kind of one thing I think there. And by the way, my understanding, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think with the quantum risk stuff that's popping up, and there's a couple of guys here, Fabrizio and Stefano, they just came out of Self, Never Local. The Quantum Punkskex just had a workshop the other day. And I guess based on conversations they've had with the Ethereum Foundation, they scrapped all the Verkle stuff. Okay, that's 2-3 years of work. So I think that it should be, and I know Justin said, okay, we're trying to quantum proof for hardened Ethereum, etc. But the timeline doesn't match, in my opinion. That's the single biggest risk that I see. 2029, 2030. We threw in tens or maybe even like hundreds of billions into L2 at this point in terms of investment and effort and work, and it took like almost 10 years, right? Really, that Polygon, I was with the Matic team. I was one of the first investors invited to use for Matic Polygon. That was like 2021. That kicked, and since then, obviously, there's been a lot of tremendous innovation and stuff like that. But it's still clunky, right? It's fragmented. There's a lot of issues with it. So the extent to which we made progress on the L2 side and how long that took And really, the measurable impact at this stage isn't particularly fantastic, in my opinion. The scope and scale of mitigating the quantum risk is enormously more challenging. And so, yeah, I'm concerned with the timeline, and I don't think there's enough emphasis on how big this risk is right now.
Yeah, great.
So good question. So what exactly do you use the EVM as and something dating now EVM networks provide?
That making EVM is right to the is the pass. We can start with Mark this time. Maybe someone else.
Beyond that, I know you about that point. I get so.
So it can be two thoughts. One is shape is a syntax.
So for example, using syntax or for parallel programming, if you use one of those high-level programming languages or your Web2 computers, for example, Go, Rust, Erlang, right? You have UT language features or for just running parallel to just do parallel process. And this kind of feature then also like logs, sephomores, and channels, those kind of things to facilitate cross-thread communication. So this kind of stuff is missing in Solidity and also just EVM as a whole. So I think to truly scale the application, I mean, if the lessons from Doc 2 is still valid in MX3, we do need the capability for individual applications to make use of multiple CPU cores, to make use of the coherence, the kind of physical parallelism in all the hardware components, for example, SSDs, memory, right? So I think these kind of features should be there in programming languages and also in EVM. And I think another thing that's probably missing is better formal verification tools for Solidity contracts for EVM programs. Yet again, to just try to draw a parallel to that 2 infrastructure, we have very nice static and dynamic analysis tools to help you find bugs, be it memory leaks, be it privilege escalations, right? So these kind of like safety security tools, I think is still pretty primitive in our space. And yeah, I think this kind of just developers working brush should be better for EV.
Yeah, I'll also do it here. So for example, in terms of zero knowledge proofs, right? So currently has, I think, only just one set of operations to operate with zero knowledge proofs, and they're kind of already outdated and already considered not really secure for many applications at least. And the speed with which like all this zero knowledge stuff and cryptography also develops is quite big, quite fast, and Ethereum doesn't really contain ways to implement these crypto primitives. We should just wait until Solidity implements it and recompile. So Ethereum already will use that formula in like 2 years or 3 years. Well, whenever this kind of stuff. For example, Ethereum relies on BN curve while we're doing like this proof of stake seed for consensus, and at the same time it is not supported in media themselves. Outrageous sometimes, and this probably inability to program modern things, and if you could do it yourself, even like that would be a failure, right? But the performance of it so low that without recompile you can't even program it yourself if you want to.
Yeah, I would just quickly add that, one of the things we do with this Telos experiment that I'm working on is we emulate the EVM within a delegated proof of stake layer, and we have Rust and Wasm native. We just shipped the Paradown Ref implementation, so definitely much more emphasis on Rust, building a much stronger culture and foundation around full verification, and much more kind of like rigidity. I think to a large extent early on we sacrifice that for easier developer user experience, if you will. But I'm a big fan of what Paradigm has done with Luperel, right, since
Well, I'd say it's going to be a more general if you require anybody who's interested building or integrating with EVM to learn Solidity, but it's very niche, which basically turned off like 99% of developers in the world. In order to start considering whether an integration is good or not, you need to go and learn this language with very few tools, very few resources of an isolated community. So we don't need exclusion from the rest of the developer community to want to bring more of it in. And after that, we bring changes to make it into the EVM. Like, leave them there announced, and then you can actually start using it. If you were just take one of those and put it into a platform, you have like 2-year lead. You might as well do that as a business.
I could be the one you're saying, Ash, the developer side. I think you definitely need less developer fragmentation. Like, I would like to see more stuff like, the stylos for like start to get more like C++ devs, but also like more tooling that enable developer to be on the cost differentiates. I mean, I like, for example, what's layer series doing, like, but there are different interesting projects. But I think in a way, like someone that will start like compiling on Rust is able also to move like onto like other back ecosystem. But most important is that this enabling is of different physics. I don't know, like who will be the kind of like character at building those frameworks and standardization around tooling. But I think we definitely need more of that. Something from my side, I've heard that Arbitrum now has a $5 million incentive program for stylists, which just means that there's a PMF at least immediately, right? Like I'm not seeing Web2 developers with all the experience they have from their own backgrounds, like just all coming with a rush to Ethereum and to this world. So, I mean, at this point, still EVM absolutely dominates. I think if anything, one thing that's missing from the EVM was friction from like the current developer, like crypto developers, blockchain developers. From my side, it's interesting seeing like StarkNet developers getting really excited about Cairo, creating these developer communities, a lot of mind share around that. So that's something that's almost missing from EVM. So this feeling of community around EVM, it's kind of never present. It's kind of boring at this point. There's a lot of libraries. It's not a lot of friction for the current existing crypto developer community.
This is something I didn't think to ask a long time ago, was targeted lecture capital. Well, this could contribute to it. We noticed for EVM, one of the most unique things is accessibility and original code. Yeah, sorry. Over 90% of the original code is through Ethereum. That's one of the biggest reasons why people say EVM was more accessible to the devs. I would love to hear more from here, from Zion, from older ecosystems that have attempted everything. So everybody here have thought about EVM, versatile EVM, how do they have more protection of traffic deploy. Love to hear their thoughts on how to, what's the genetic trait, how do we how was your purpose of not even what's the thing, so what's the general fit? And for EVM ecosystem, sorry, how do we expand on is that originality, innovation is probably the source of, is the fuel for the victory of Dropbox.
I think one of the problems here why EVM is not surpassed by a more modern way of developing this, but because actually who is watching this non-EVM chains? So it should usually be kind of isolated to know chains like Solana, what else here, fail starts on the Solana back there and go. So the reason is that there. So developers now are kind of on the list on those players, and it itself that really support for very cool latency by EVM. I mean, yeah, those like the Serbian skills. At the point, only just appeared, and it is also if you like a region for example was also pretty isolated, where low visibility is very limited, right? And that only places visit 1 week or so where they have always is a man. So possibly. So driven that you should converse in your platform if you want to use as languages for otherwise your work. If you can both the platform with the rest we get it works, and then people realize they can program on a good language on a more yeah. And also they can have exposure to the all the dedicated to the human users of everything at that obvious space. It's a way. Until we got this you update.
Has something on it.
So it's testing.
Yeah, well, we're not running an EVM compatible version. So we, I don't know, I keep hearing about these leads, about these platforms out of everything. It's on EVM, and what we've found is that, at least from our position, where we're all pretty super oriented, which we interact more with non-DeFi applications. The core benefit of the EVM, or the Ethereum specifically, is that that's where all the money is. After that, there's not really compelling end-user applications that are non-financially related on any EVM. So when we were considering, do we need to do an EVM layer? I was like, don't look. We just, at the end of the day, realized it doesn't matter. Most of the interesting apps have not arrived yet. And we should make the tooling for when they get here easier. So we're just turning them away with like the spines, the legacy technology.
Yeah, I want to build on the fact that I see two type of main developers, right? You have the protocol devs that want kind of like this wide range of tooling. Then you have the application kind of like phase developers that want to preview the tooling and deploy the apps already, right? We're working on different kind of like preview the pre-compiled CLIs already deployed, already integrated MetaMask SDK. And for example, this kind of like CLI is something that's application phase developers are forward. But I think we're always going back to, we should not speak that much. Perhaps the question is about accessibility. We should not speak only about product innovation, but we should actually speak more about how we are creating sustainable user programs. And probably like you, Mark, you have a lot of things to say. Like how we are kind of like transitioning from, bounty hunter to like more regular system, like every ecosystem bounty, like every ecosystem sustainable program. What does it mean like more in a long-term fix? And I think like that's why kind of like ideal ecosystem, and I'm speaking about electric capital. I'm working a lot with the developer statistic like from like OpenQ. Obviously it's all like kind of open source, right? Like not RAD stuff like closed source, but you see definitely like a much stronger sustainability in terms of like EVM, like application layer developers. But also like I can also argue how many application phase apps are really out there, right? Obviously like they are not out there. Polymarkets, the majority of logins are SSO logins. No one really cared if it was a deploy on Polygon. I think a lot of people even didn't know about it. Or I'd say that like and developers on that layer care about kind of like preview the recompile CLIs. So actually like things that are any free kind of like deal that they can modularly like build on top of that. And the other ways, Farcaster, but remember like Farcaster protocol could not be without Portas. Like, you still need to build all the use case, and you go away obviously from the WB2 one.
So I'm going to talk about perspective of today, not the speculative future when these amazing applications will come to crypto eventually. I actually think we do have incredible applications currently. DeFi works, the core primitives are already done. I think it's very difficult to even think about what would make it better. Fully on-chain cloud, sure, let's see when that happens. But the core primitives are there, and the current infrastructure, Fudge stack is like, it's good enough for now. I think what I'm seeing on the EVM side, 'cause the question is about accessibility and how to like grow the lead of EVM adoption. I'm seeing definitely a lot more, shorter time to market for builders. If a builder wants to put together a new idea for an application, it's fairly easy to find existing smart contract libraries that are well audited, well battle tested. It's easier to work with the current Lego pieces in the EVM world. I think secondly, interoperability for now is still easier. I'm not sure how many times I've talked to bridges or bridge partners or Oracle partners, and it's very easy to work with Cananzal as an EVM chain. And immediately when we go to an alt EVM chain, there's a lot of complaints. Bridges, like, you should ask somebody about, I don't know if anybody's experienced in trying to bridge the ton, for example. It's almost impossible. I mean, I don't know what kind of wizardry people are going to do here, but I have talked to every single bridge operator. Please get it done ASAP, because we have people who want to go back and forth with Ton and Mantle, and the layer 0 wormhole, nobody has figured this out yet. So I think in the current ecosystem, EVM is just the easiest, the fastest way to build products that are immediately ready for market and interoperable.
Can I just touch upon what Mark said? So first of all, it's a shitbox tag. Reggie Was, great artist. I'm from Seattle. He was a really funny song. You should check it out. But I just want to address 2 points that I think you're salient that you made. So with respect to bridging, let me back up. In terms of like the application or the kind of use case that I think will unify everything and really turbocharge the self-sovereign identity, and the extent to which, and Francesco knows this very well, a consensus we tried for many years with Uport that didn't work. Fundamentally, it didn't work because the theory was that infrastructure was not sufficient at the time. Obviously, with the ZK invasions that are coming, the extent to which you could establish a canonical identity on-chain, selectively disclose or granularly authenticate without necessarily revealing elements of your identity, I think begins to unlock a massive number of use cases. And to Francesco's point, it's true that most Polymarket or really many other applications, I mean, you see a lot of SSO identity solutions that they work in terms of like the user experience. But I also think if we had a very robust self-sovereign identity, and by the way, EAS is gaining a lot of momentum with Ethereum Manifestation Service, so those schemas are very well thought out. I think that's one core component. But the next key, in my opinion, and this also ties into the bridging issue, is recursive proofs. Okay, and the extent to which you could build a robust recursive proof system that includes also aggregation as well, so that you can have the efficiency on-chain, enables you to build trustless bridges. And the extent to which we can kind of get there, I mean, that's one of the things I'm personally focused at, that we'll focus on and our ZK researchers are working on. We were working on something called Snarktor, which be able to recursive proof aggregation. So I think trustless bridges, powered by recursive proofs, helping enable interoperability, but in addition to that, helping unlock self-sovereign identity and reputation is kind of like, in my opinion, the key milestones that will unlock the significant next level utility core for the EVM and really other BDs as well.
Yeah, I also want to say I agree 100% on the kind of DID use case. Like right now we see, like proof fragmentation. That's why kind of all the chain abstraction topic is coming out. I think the next big wave of kind of like fragmentation will be like digital identity fragmentation, because right now we are building like a wave of like proofs that are basically like running on a specific like layer through segment. And when we're speaking about like social recovery, guardians, delegatable for like recovery, like it could be wallet recovery, but false BDG, but that's a recovery. Like I'm definitely like scared that we're going in a direction where you're building like ecosystem of like digital identity proofs, meaning also like all this will go against kind of like future like users onboarding, where they might need to have social recovery or like specific system like that, and the proofs will be a different layer too. So you have this kind of like digital fragmentation that I think it would be a big topic coming out. That's why like I really like I hope like this including like researcher, like we're trying to find ways abstract like chain proofs, but also like starting to build a settlement directly on a specific chain so that we can actually have a unified user onboarding or like a unified user journey to recovery, not just their fund, but also their identity proofs.
But how do we move it, if you don't mind? Sorry. how do we get to a point where Ethereum, we're celebrating, and I'm not trying to denigrate ENS or anything by that, by any means, but basically it's integrated with Google, and now you've established your identity on chain for the entire world to see everything about you, and you can find you on Google without any elements of data protections, where the user can, have, some degree of privacy. And I'm just wondering how we got to that point first. To see, to me, that's kind of like very far away from software identity and granular authentication. It's a lack of disclosure for the user.
Yeah. I also like want to kind of debate like is like name chain like a great idea, right? Like Web 6 that for BAS was always like being the framework, the standardization around digital identity that was still agnostic to any layer 2 and kind of like proof and settlement. But now with this kind of like announcement, I'm asking myself like what would happen around this kind of like digital identity fragmentation, right? Because obviously like they will push for their always settlement. It will be cheaper, resolver fee will be cheaper. And but I think for the user experience, every single ecosystem will try to push the attestation on their own chain. So I don't know, like, what do you think about that? Like, is like something like the in-chain a good idea, or like, and the follow-up question is like, who will take care? Like, who will be like the EF kind of like side for like digital identity framework and standardization? I don't know who can play this role. This is obviously like another question I have no answer, right? But I think we definitely need someone like that is pretty agnostic and will actually defend the rights to have a unified proofing system for future user. They will need like social recovery, for example.
Yeah, I think to your first question, show me the money. That's the answer. I'll leave it at that. But I think to get to the point where, as you said, it's the community-driven like approach towards protecting the user and delivering solutions that really offer that to the user. I think that has to be some like if we go back to like the cyberpunk ethos, it has to be like I'm not saying dark cloud as an example should be the ones to do it, but something like that where there's a determined approach towards a public good that gives the user sovereignty over their identity and over their the attestation layer as well. And that probably doesn't look like financially rewarding business to set up.
Yeah, I just want to say that try to create I don't know, like a linear ENS name or something, going through the curve of humanity, going through the GitHub passport. I don't know if you guys tried. It went through like this process, but it go through like 10 different like independent systems. And it's taking ages, and somehow like you don't know if this will work for the common human being, right? Sorry, we just deviate from the questions.
Pretty good. I also want to hear from Nikolai. Yeah, I know a bit quiet. Do you have anything you want to check?
On this topic, no, big discussion in still.
Awesome. Well, in that case, we'll dive into our second to last question. So, from a founder perspective, from an ecosystem perspective, obviously all the founders here, amazing ecosystems, wants the founders to go down there, right? But from a founder perspective, there's been increasingly, both from a personal experience as well as from the data, we see a lot more projects choosing a more multi-chain approach. A multi-chain might be the future. So, to EVM or not EVM, why not both? Now, to hear your take, and when you hear a project say, I want to put on Mantle, but also on Solana, or if you want to shoot something subtle, right, I'm on ETH, but also on Eclipse, what's the general take, and how do you go at it as a founder / amazing versus?
I think writing a kind of programming for both EVM and for Solana VM is inherently I don't think. But obviously, don't think highly founders able to do that. Usually, what I hear is, "Hey, we are another EVM chain. You want us like an incentive, and should I come to you to from us this type of questions?" It's mostly within the same tech stack, and I think that's actually a strong case for EVM because it's a more technical-based standard, not just the developers that also want the chains and it's included in. To build it for what shape of practice, very key is very easy, probably it's one hour or the best report it to a different. But maybe from the chain's perspective, we, I think at least for in the case of Larry, we assume that this is stressful to let the staff
how the developer do backcopy chains if it just they don't have
How we do now. So yeah, we developed this is a story kept with a chain for kind of applications that is only possible one big delicious applications that require stream
visited stream responses. Yeah, so I think that's come by from chase anyway. I would have developed a chain and push kind of I and I guess it was card that they don't see was more and more towards the like university. He also secured the last special that's a stable security and then I'm actually very okay is with this program activity of this layer the EVM upload in security layer and if there will be ways to program you this different similar features than for service initial. So yeah. And given that there can give enough security for any virtual issues, if you're running on top of it, I think it can kind of easily outperforms pretty much everybody else because that's the only thing so on is bad. For example, it's just because that's very preferred idea. And once you can wrap EVM on top of the tail, the disadvantage the potential but for my application, but so yeah, that's my few cents for that.
Like to stock it. So we operate in the Cosmos IEC interchain stack. So we've been multi-chain from the start. So and we made a decision fairly early. Like we know now there's not going to be one L1 instead of Windows. If there were, it would have been Ethereum, or after that Solana, or after that one of the movement languages. Like it's that experiment is resolved. There will be multiple networks. That's just not to be looking forward. And we're in the IDC space, so we've been classed with trustless bridges for years now, and using them to integrate to other chains, except for the EVM, has been fairly straightforward. And we're working with multiple very talented teams like Union, Oliver, Toki, that are finally getting us to the point we could start conversing with EVMs in order to have like our accounts control and submit transactions in other places on behalf of the user. We can bring this like UVEX polish to other networks. We primarily provide that as a lock-in protection, so like you don't have to worry about calling at us or calling us somewhere else. It's not how we're human. But what we've mostly noticed, at least so far, is people only really value it as kind of lock-in protection. There aren't any compelling applications again that require you to cross multiple chains or you to talk to another one. So we're mostly building this technology in anticipation of things that are not yet arrived.
I'm a big fan of like Interchain Foundation. I think like their search word was around the Cosmos, totally awesome, right? But especially like how will you bridge between sub modular ecosystem or Cosmos, right? To answer your question, I think also I'm definitely not against like multi-chain deployments. I actually think it will benefit more the ecosystem. I think the user will not fare. Like what I want to say is that you have different kind of requirements from the kind of like the use case you're building. I think different use case which was different kind of like would be layer 2 or in layer 1, depending on how the ecosystem is strong, how the developer acquisition is efficient, and kind of like align the works to the vision. But I also like encourage much more provider like I don't know, like if you are kind of the next level is this team, it's called this Trezor infrastructure. Long story short is that you relay transaction on different kind of layers, like based on like latency at this time or point in time, and kind of like requirements that you're setting up beforehand. and then the users will not care. I think like you should definitely like we will have multiple like infrastructure node that if the use case you're building on. But I also like want to remind everyone it is again I don't think it's just this is like broader for NGA. Like it's definitely an accessibility and developer onboarding pay because without that background insult you cannot move to the next level of the pyramid, meaning like having a more efficient like consumer facing app building, meaning the next kind of like foreign markets. And also like we also need to remind ourselves, you know, we're building for a lot of like, you know, wacky users coming on board. I mean, we need to also find what is working around, you know, Web2 user journeys and kind of like embed into our new kind of like standardized and technology facing the user dApps. I think Polymarket teaches a lot of things, and we need to kind of like take this lesson learned and apply in our commits.
So the question was on multi-chain, like what we think about multi-chain deployment for projects, ecosystems. I think if that's your first question as a founder, like I don't know what to say. Like you're probably grant farming. I'm probably gonna ignore your message. Like you're just not gonna make it. Like that should not be like first in your mind. I think first thing in your mind should be building amazing products, solving real world problems, they're painful problems. And then whichever chain you choose, that's a secondary question actually. Like if there's many examples. Somebody mentioned DeFi kingdoms. I don't remember which chain they were in first, but I remember like it was an extremely difficult process to getting there, and like now that chain doesn't even exist. But they had a lot of users back in the day, right? Or like I don't know, one of my favorite examples is that kits and an NFT collection that I really love. That's on Stargaze. It's Stargaze. Like nobody had ever heard about Stargaze before. Well, guess what? People still went to Stargaze. And now if you talk to Port Kinetics, it's like about bringing it to other chains. It's like, why would I ever do that? There's no point in doing it. So likely, if you're thinking about multi-chain, you're maybe not solving any problems. You're maybe just brand farming, and that's maybe not long-term stable hat for you. Yeah, that's just hot tip here.
But if you're trying to raise money, chain abstraction is a hell of a buzzword.
Yeah, I would say I agree with Mark. One thing as founder, I think that helps you have clarity. You should be invested in your ecosystem, but just fold some Bitcoin too. That'll make everything really easy. You'll be anchored in the L1, you know, with the King of Mall, and then you can just focus on your ecosystem.
Awesome. One last question. This will be quick. Why NMAE? Why Vera? Why Talos? Why Bia? Why Zion? Why Mental? Or see where not from young like all you agree? No. Okay. So I think it's not really a question of why NMAE. It's about something. I think the best question is you want to be shooting new applications, or do you want to just build something to a better version of something this cool? And then the question is, do you want to build something towards only possible some of the chains or all of these? So something the question why I get it to be bad community because if you need performance, get you probably making is got your choice. If you need that kind of and that's an application that Marcos said. From talk to us, you want to do app to level
Any application with speed level visibility and double purpose threats.
We'll talk about get the GSC or what it called Ethereum. And yeah, indeed, because of what was said here, right? EVM is just not capable enough to do a kind of modern application, so what we do is basically allow program that they will differently. That's basically one of our main ways. Use modern languages, use components, the area, and you're good to go.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of young people here, but before Netflix, we used to have VHS. Sometimes really bad Bollywood movies would go straight to VHS. That's Telos. starting in 2018. It was a project that was the antithesis of EOS, who did this like massive 4 billion ICO, didn't invest any money in the community. So they forked it. Not exactly forked it, but took a VM, the delegated proof of stake, airdropped the entire supply. So that's kind of step one. The Genesis story, I think, is very true of Bitcoin. So there's no ICO, no nothing like that. And then for a number of years, it was just like, I call it the paparazzi approach. You have no money, no nothing. You just have to exist and survive. 2021, they created an EVM, which, by the way, if you remember the day of copyright, the exploit error that almost brought down Ethereum, that was discovered first vested with Tillis EVM. That's how it came onto my radar. Last year, one of the founders rage quit, the community kind of took it over, I got it involved. I guess why Tillis? I guess we have like 12 PhDs now. I hire a bunch of technical people. We've been doing a lot of great CQ research. We put out some benchmark testing recently on the aggregation side, on CPU side, or 77 times faster with zero. We're doing a bunch of stuff. We're basically serving our community. And a lot of these old Hollywood, beat movies that went to straight to VHS, they have a resurgence arc. 20, 30 years later, they're like cult classics. That's where Telos is right now. I don't have any really compelling reasons why you should care. Other than, it's an interesting experiment. We're trying a bunch of stuff. We're going to be rolling out a hybrid consensus as well in the near future. Use local will work at your state. We're doing a bunch of different things. We're launching our own exchange in service of our community. So it's basically an ecosystem of folks that have been in cockroach both for 5-6 years and have somehow survived. No insiders, no nothing like that, no big dumps, no big VCs. It's either going to fail or not, but in the meantime, we're having a lot of fun.
Zion is a marketing and user acquisition company. We're not so much an engineering company. If you're building something that needs yield farming or DeFi or liquidity access, maybe everyone else is DeFi over you. If you're building something for non-technical people, we'll put 1 million people in front of you, put you in front of investors, put you with some guys. That's what we're.
Cool. So I don't want to shield. But I want to say choose your tech stack based on your use case, based on the accessibility of the ecosystem, and also like the tooling that it gets. For example, like you want to build the IDs, make sure that you have like a good and strong like attestation service built in this layer 2. You want to build a different ecosystem, make sure that this specific stack has interoperable tooling that allow you also to get to other developers. And then obviously there is the ecosystem compatibility with other tool for users and security, right? So I think that's now where ecosystem and stellar of ecosystem is important for the account. And the outfits or your cheater. But obviously don't try to, rad farming or this things. I think longevity wise and sustainable wise, the users are CPACs. I actually think rad farming is fine. Like if that's your game, like if you differ yourself at a some spot, those like muscle. I think why Mantle, maybe from builder perspective, when you're choosing an ecosystem, especially if you're not an multi-chain project, you're kind of getting married to that ecosystem. You're building your reputation on that ecosystem. So yeah, just think about who you're working with. Do they reply to your Telegram messages? Do they hop on a call with you on a regular basis? Do they invite you to their exclusive dinners or barbecue today at some piano? Do they go above and beyond and like just being there with you and supporting you on every step of the way? It's not just money, which Mantle has a lot of it, and it will be here for forever. But it's also like all of the human, the qualitative things that builders need. You are all emotional beings. Being a founder is incredibly tough journey, and you need some help. You're basically getting married to one of these ecosystems. And I would say that we are probably the best handler in the artists. So yeah, choose Mantle.
We have time for maybe 2 questions from the audience. I know there's a lot of founders, so we're actually deciding which ecosystem. So ask questions in it. I might cold pause an issue, right? Because I know you pretty well. Kissing, yeah, and like the other question, we on our one of the founders, sir.
Can you speak up a bit right here now?
Better? A little bit better.
So actually, I have just one comment about like a multi-chain approach. I think it's a little more than run farming because if you're building, let's say in like a BUD space, where you have a lot of communities and brands that have already picked the chain as an ecosystem to good to buy, and if you're building certain features or products more as it equals equals, then I drove. Yeah, that's wrap farming. It's more like supporting diseases too using eyes that we use, let's say, slime and fish. Or also, some of the stuff I think looking like and events plus community when I shoot up in the eyes is you have lots of different communities designs that go in the kitchen. So if you want to offer the events, etc. Uh, the sea of features is staff and enable lots of different names. So where the kind of like a multi-chain approach is more like the chain deal, like it. Different chains need microservices, policies to artificial code. So I just wanted like your thoughts on a multi-chain approach, which is not for brand farming, but for servicing community as well. Just
Yeah, I think I had that take. So, I think my point was just the first question should not be, is it like, what's the more knowledge approach? I think the first question is again, like, which problem are you solving? And if that problem includes all these chains and that you're solving something that is just inherently like revising interoperability, then of course, you know, I'm just in a lot of projects that come to us that are multi-chain. More likely than not, they didn't really need to be a multi-chain project, and at that point, it's just a kind of red flag. So my point really is like that shouldn't be your first question, unless that is specifically the problem that you're solving. Polymart is a good example. I think every ecosystem out there, every L2 with a lot of money out there, has been trying to coach Polymarket, but there's kind of no reason for Polymarket to be multi-chain here. Like, hey, maybe they can have a better on-ramp, better way for new users to get our Polymarket serve that, but there's not, in my mind, it's kind of no reason to go multi-chain. That's like a good example. But of course, if you're, I don't know, Catalyst right now, they're like solving that all via interoperability issue. Like, of course, that's inherently the product that you have. For now, just to fight about communities, I do agree with you. Like, all these chains have like our existing communities. A lot of those communities are very retail, which is kind of weird because we're all just a bunch of like very like low-level service providers. I think eventually these communities cease to exist. I think the communities are primarily for developers, and retail will not even know which chain is being used eventually. So yeah, maybe now for like a year or two, like yeah, you can like, it's more than matter farming. You're trying to get all these communities involved in your product if you're a consumer product. But eventually, I think it's not about like Polymarket is Polymarket. Nobody will know which chain it's on.
Thanks.